Hello and welcome to Plate Stack Chat on a Sunday. Always feels a little bit weird, but I kind of like it. As always, my name is Jason, and this is a show where I find some interesting people in the world of fitness and I bring them on for a fun chat. And today, my guest definitely ticks that box. Now, of course, before we meet her, let's just mention again that this show is supported by Strivey. Please check them out. It's a great app made by good people and a great way to get your product out to the people you're coaching. Now, if you were here last show, well, first of all, you'd know I said that my next show was on Wednesday and it was with Alyssa Martinez and Paul Leyes. That is still happening, but you will also know that Sam dropped the breaking news of the New York Wolves having just locked in their new coach. So how could I not get them on as soon as possible? That's today's guest. It is the New York Wolves' new coach. She was a former bodyweight specialist for the Atlanta Wild, being part of that championship team last year. And yet, as soon as you look at her Instagram, of course, all you're going to want to do is ask her questions about cosplay at Renaissance fairs. Please welcome to the show the fabulous Lexie Wohlfort.
Hello, what an introduction.
I usually say like that's the peak of my preparation
Yeah.
for the show. It's like, let's get the intro down. That's all fine. And now we can relax and I can start moving people around on my screen.
For sure.
Lexie, welcome. I had some questions. I've just moved them. No, first of all, I gotta call you out on something straight away. I've got to ask you something straight away. I mean, I've already mentioned that, you look very elegant for the show, which I appreciate as somebody who dresses up for the show as well. Initially, we were going to do this on Saturday.
Yes.
And then you were like, oh, I'm so sorry. Could we move it to Sunday? Because I've forgot, I've got another obligation. I've got something I've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Would that something be the wine walk that I saw posting
it
up
was
on your
the wine
Instagram?
walk, actually. So I decided, since I was off this whole weekend from my other job obligations, I wanted to take a spontaneous trip down to the beach. So I'm actually still down here. I'm going to leave after this interview with Ariana Trinidad from the Wild. So we were on the team together in those 2 years that I was on there, and it's nice to have a little place down by the beach to go head out to. And she told me, she's like, hey, there's this wine walk that starts at 2. I was like, crap, I have an interview at 3. I can't do it on the wine walk.
Absolutely, we could have done that on the wine walk,
I
think.
Very much could have, and I think that it would have been fun and interesting.
Yeah. I've had multiple shows where people have been in cars driving to or from locations.
It was either going to be that or you may have caught me on my 7-hour drive or 6.5-hour drive back home.
So you said you're leaving straight after this. You got to head back home.
Yeah. Unfortunately, work duties do call tomorrow. I work full-time as a vet tech. So we've got a couple patients coming in right at open and a surgery in tomorrow. So I do have to do my job. So
that is understandable. I mean, I did have a question about that because I think when we were initially trying to book you in, and we were just trying to figure out times and time zones and things like that. You did say, and I think I'm quoting you, I can't do any earlier because animals' lives depend on me.
I have to go save some animals.
Yes, that's probably what it was. I have to save some animals. So now I know why. Vet tech. Okay, that makes sense. Yes. Oh, lovely. And I can see you've got animals even down there.
I do. So this is for anyone watching, this is my foster dog, Seymour.
Right.
He came down to the beach with me. He's a good boy. Looking for a home still. So if anyone wants a fluffy little 13-pound dog, I've got him. And as hard as it would be to get rid of him, because he loves me a whole lot, there's always another pet that needs your help. So it's good to open up that space in my home. Even though he is a good boy.
He is. And we can quote you on that.
Yes.
You guarantee. Yes.
Quote, good boy.
Quote, good boy. Yeah. So I've grabbed a piece of paper so I can jot down times, because I always forget to do this, and I always start looking back for clips. And I'm like, we've got an ad already. It's always nice to. I mean, Sam did me a real solid last time by breaking news of a new coach.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great! I don't need to look for a clip this week. But so I thought, okay, we've got to advertise that this dog needs a home. That's important. So let's make sure we clip that at some point. I've got so many questions. Where do we begin?
Yes.
I mean, I really want to ask about the costumes, but I'm saving that.
Okay.
Towards the end. I'm going to save that. but that was the first thing my eye was drawn to when I looked at your page. So I was like,
I
okay,
am a jack of all trades for
yeah.
sure. We will
I'm like,
definitely talk about that.
forget the fitness, forget all the like hard work and effort that goes into being a bodyweight specialist, being able to do
Forget
those
about my new
incredible
job.
things. You're wearing costumes and you're in a Renaissance fair. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this. No, we'll come back to this. Let's get through some of the more important. It's all important, but you know what I mean. First of all, I guess I just want to run it back a little bit before we go into like your new role as the coach.
Yeah.
Obviously this year you are not part of the Atlanta Wilds team.
Correct.
Was that always the plan, sort of finishing up last season? Did you know that you were like ready to stop? Was it a bit of a surprise? Was it just things didn't work out?
There were a lot of things involved in me not doing grid this year. The first and probably biggest one was that I did get injured in Vegas. So I still refuse to watch that match back because to me it still feels so embarrassing. But I was put in both ringers that we had in Vegas because the rules were kind of whatever because people couldn't make it because of the hurricane. So I did both the bar facing burpee and they made a 20 handstand push-up, 20 chest to bar ringer. You could see in the match, which again, I refuse to watch. After I do my 20 handstand push-ups, we're pretty neck and neck. I go to hop on the bar for chest to bar and my grip slips and I catch myself on my hand. Right. I had already kind of done something weird to my wrist, trying to test out things to help my team out for that match. Like I'm not a strength specialist, but I was like, okay, I think I can do the hang squat clean mirror because it was a light enough weight that I could help them with if needed. Did a weird catch on a clean. It was feeling achy and strange. Then that happened. It continued to exacerbate things. And it literally wasn't until probably the past month that I've been able to hold things overhead, go onto my hands without the help of some kind of brace.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, wrists are weird. They're strange. They take a while to heal up. So that being immediately after the season was kind of a factor. I was like, I don't feel 100%. It's going to be hard to work on a lot of my strengths if I can't go overhead because I was the handstand push-up specialist. And while I could do them, how could I do them safely and at grid speed? Another
a number of interesting elements to add to that. Like, can you do a handstand push-up? Yes, I think I can. Can you do it safely? Probably. Maybe. Can you do it safely at grid speed? Okay, now you're starting to push things a little bit.
Yeah. So that was a big question. Dan had asked me when we were going in because we were starting a little bit different with this next season, like trying things out, testing, and having basically an audition to be part of the team. We wanted everyone to kind of have a fresh start. And I was like, I don't feel safe necessarily doing that. So I didn't do that. And I mean, other things, yes, we won, but like, I didn't feel like I was a crazy integral part of the team. And for me and the changes in my lifestyle, like I'm a full-time vet tech now. Like I'm doing school, like things like that. I couldn't quite justify taking a lot of my time out of schooling and out of learning from work to go and do all the matches as much as I love this sport. I also had discussions with Dan. Dan's one of my greatest friends. I love Dan. I had discussions with him being like, I feel like grid is constantly evolving to a point where I don't feel as if I can keep up as an athlete.
Right.
So you see all the new elements that are happening. We see the new sandbag. We saw that we're adding handstand walk ramps. We saw the handstand complex. And as a bodyweight specialist who is supposedly good on our hands, I look at those things and I'm like, I can't do that as fast as I would need to be helpful to my team. So that was another thing that was on my mind, as well as just other personal things. My sister's getting married this year. Like I'm being a maid of honor. Like it just didn't seem like the right time to go back. Yeah.
Well, I'll make a note that we can do the next show from the wedding. That would be good.
Yeah,
That'll up
right?
the wine walk. So it was like, sorry, I just got to.
It's in New Orleans, so that'll be fun.
That will be fun. Yeah, we can have the music in the background. It'd be lovely, lovely
Yeah,
atmosphere.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a list of
Mhm.
not
It was
excuses,
just the
of
perfect
reasons, of
it was
good
just a
reasons. Yeah,
perfect storm of things that just it didn't make sense at the time to add that pressure on top of everything else that was happening.
yeah. I mean, I feel a little bit guilty when you said, "Oh, I didn't feel like I was an integral part of that team." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh no,
And
I had quite a few people from that team on the podcast, and I never invited you on, and now I feel guilty." Like
oh,
she
whatever. I
wasn't
mean,
she wasn't integral enough. No,
it happens. It's like
too many people on the team. That's the
if
problem.
I'm not faster than the other girls to be in the female triad, like I get it. That's part of the sport.
Yeah.
And again, it's about how good can I get by the time I need to be out on that field, you know? And if I can't get there, then it is what it is. Am I going to be upset about it for a little while? Absolutely. I mean, that happens. You're going to be upset that you didn't feel like you practiced hard enough or anything, but it's like I put in the work and I just wasn't there. You know,
Yeah.
I did parts, but
Do you think that will? So I mean, we'll loop back to it in a minute, but just jumping ahead, the fact that you've been through that, you've been in that position, and you know, like we talk about CrossFit, like at CrossFit, you need to leave your ego at the door when you start training
mhm,
CrossFit. Like that's kind of, I know that, you know, the owner of my box, he says that all the time. That's one of the
yeah,
things, like CrossFit, you got to, you know, that's kind of one of the fundamental ideas going in. And we've talked with grid teams how important it is for players on grid teams to be able to put aside their ego and be like, yes, you can do this, but this person can do it faster.
yes,
We need to use them. Or yes, you can do it faster than them, but we need you to do this thing over here. And, you know, you can't think that you can do that faster than them and then this other thing faster than another. But, you know, one of these is going to tax you.
mhm,
So there's like a lot of this nuance there. Do you feel now, putting on your coach's hat and having to be the person having that discussion with players, saying, look, you know, I know you can do this. I know you're good at that, but you're not the person we're using. We're using this person.
yeah, and
Having been on the other side, do you feel that's kind of is going to help you be able to empathize and yet, you know, clearly kind of communicate why it's so
yeah.
fundamental that this stuff has to happen this way?
I mean, I'm definitely gonna look at things with new glasses from when I was an athlete. Um, so I mean, yes, they say leave your ego at the door, but let's be real, it's impossible to fully leave
Yeah. Well, I
your
think
ego at the door.
I might have even said this on the episode with Sam and Jen, that like you've got to leave your ego, but they wouldn't be athletes if they didn't have a degree of ego. Like
Mhm.
that's what makes
No, and
people
that was a lot of
good enough to
discussion.
do these things, right?
That was a lot of discussion of what Sam and I had in like our first initial interview. He's like, "How are you going to deal with athletes that have an ego?"
Yeah.
And it's all about the precedent you set as a coach. Is thinking back on like me feeling like I'm not quite as part of the team as I should be, this, that, the other, etc. I think part of that was just transparency. Is like I want someone to tell me that I'm just not fast enough to be put into that, or someone to walk me through their thought process of the roster and substitutions and everything, and I wouldn't say validate why I feel that way, but help me understand why I feel that way, you know? And I think that that is something that I'm going to be taking as a coach. Sam is obviously, he's got this amazing pool of athletes to choose from Fight for the Fittest, and all the other things that he's involved with in New York. I'm going to be there to help him pick who is great for the grid and who we need, looking at these new match formats and things that we have. And based on who we need, we're going to make sure that every player is utilized in the way that they need to be. Like, yes, we will need hyper specialists that can do aerials and back handsprings and all of that crazy stuff. But it's this strong core of utility that we need to find people that can do just about everything and people that we can put into different puzzle pieces. And we're going to test our athletes, and I'm going to tell them, hey, I either need you to get 5 seconds faster on this, or we're probably going to need to put someone else in, because that's going to be the difference between you and the other team that I've analyzed. Which is, it's kind of the way that Dan worked. And I'm taking a lot of stuff from how Dan worked. Because
I've got questions on this. I've literally, like I said, the most of my research is the intro, and then I've maybe got 6 sentences of certain things that I want to ask about.
Yeah.
And absolutely one of them was working with Dan.
Yeah.
And Dan is a unique individual.
Yes.
When it comes to the way he looks at the grid. He's like in the Matrix. He just sees the code as the players are running up and down.
Oh yeah.
Which is fantastic. And I was so curious, is that you? Are you like, because you're throwing out like, oh, if I've analyzed the other, if it's not as fun. So are you a stats person?
As an athlete, I was not necessarily a stats person. As a coach, I will definitely be looking more into stats, because I do think that was very beneficial. Because it's like, you look at teams that are consistent and teams that are pretty much the same core players year to year. Like, I mean, the people that are on the Aces and the Lions that merged together, like those have been core players in the grid for a very long time. So it's like, I know how fast Paula's going to go on ring muscle ups. Like you can kind of take all of that data and put it together. But then you also look at teams that are reformed and new. Like, we don't know a lot of people in the Bandits. I can't take their times from previous things. So I have to just put the best foot forward when it comes to things like that. But yeah, working with Dan, dude, I think for our last 2 matches, the playoffs and the championships, he had the ladder down, like to the digit of how much we were going to get and how much they were going to get. Like, he's got those numbers on lock. And I'm definitely going to take some of that with me, because I think that's important. But coming down to it, it's like, the ladder's just one race. We also need to win a bunch of the others too. So you got to think about a lot of those other things.
I'm not a coach myself, but
yeah,
I have understood that you do need to win more than a ladder in order to win a match.
And I mean, it's great if you're going to make the 10 points plus that you need to zero out the other team. But
yeah,
what am I doing about the Jack and Jill? What am I doing about the Echoes?
I mean, so for me, like, I've had this discussion a lot in the CrossFit space, in grid and things like that. I'm not an analyst, and I'm not as much a stats guy as others. I appreciate that other people put that stuff together, and I can use that's like a tool I can pull from. But I'm much more, I've said I'm more of like a storyteller. I'm more interested in like the human interest of like what's going on behind the scenes, the things that are happening here and there and how that affects things. And I've had a discussion with people before. I'm like, it can't just be stats. Because if it's just stats, we don't even need to play the match. We already know who's won based on the stats. We know who the times of everyone's got. So what's the point? The reason we play the match is because stuff can happen. Unpredictable stuff. And
bars can get dropped. People can not finish elements. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could possibly happen. And you need to have players that are going to consistently execute and that are going to like almost guarantee that we're going to finish certain things, because you saw how many people got tripped up with the handstand complex. Like,
but that might even be, like your example in Vegas. Sorry to mention your example in Vegas, but like, you kind of hurt yourself not even doing what you were supposed to be doing. It was just like, let me try this barbell to see how it feels, because we're missing, because it was a storm, it was a hurricane, like it was unpredictable events that put you in a position you weren't planning to be in. And then the thing that like got really affected by that was the ringer, which there was just a knock-on effect of all the other elements. So I quite like that you're maybe this hybrid of, I've got the stats, I know the numbers, I can use those numbers when I'm telling an athlete, you're not fast enough, or that's why we're not using you. But I've been on the grid, I can adapt. I know, things can change moment to moment, and then I know how I'm going to kind of juggle that, manage that. handle? Who am I going to sub in here, sub in there? What are we going to do if this happens? So yeah, I think having worked with Dan is a great tool.
And I mean,
having been on the grid,
he always had a plan A, B, and C. We had a spreadsheet that just had everything, every possible thing that could happen. And that's another important thing to take with you, because obviously you look at injuries, you look at capacity of some of your players, and maybe it's not up to snuff of what your perfect vision could be. You need to learn how to adjust on the fly, and you need to learn how to have those people in reserve that can pick up the slack. And that's going to be part of it for sure.
Okay. On a little side note, I was having a chat with other Dan from Grid and Grind show, and we were talking about doing kind of like a stats based show and talking about certain things, and we're trying to put together like a panel of who can we get on that will talk about the numbers or the stats or how stuff's happened. And we've got a nice list, all guys, not a lady on the list. So we're like, we really would be nice if we could find someone. So Lexie, I'm just putting a little note next to your name there that we might have to get you on the show.
We might need to look at some stats. And that's another thing, is that Jenna's excited that we have a female coach. And I mean, yes, other teams have a female coach, but like, I mean, Jess is a coach player. It's you got to break some ground, stand up for the ladies.
That's what Sam's saying here. He says, I was hired to find studs. I think we're off to a great start with Lexie. And also, Wolfpack Back on Track is here as well. Hey, Grid fam. Can't wait to see you. Hello. Okay, so that's good. So, another question for you.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've got loads of questions. Interesting. It's funny how this show works. Were you following the season before you got, before Sam got in touch with you about potentially coaching?
Yes.
Were you? Yeah. Okay. So
I watched every match. Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't know if it was like this. I mean, I know you won't watch the Vegas match, so I didn't know at what point.
Listen, I was in the Vegas match. I don't need to watch it again.
You're the first person view. You can't ask for more than that. Any thoughts on the season this year? I mean, you've already mentioned some of the elements that have been introduced that maybe you're quite happy to not be on the floor and having to contend with. Overall, what do you feel about the kind of the growth Grid has had over particularly the last 2 years, where it's really had this, I guess, with the change to United from Florida, having been on the inside and watching from the outside, and now going to be on the inside, but in a different role. Like, how do you see things?
Yeah. Well, I've been following Grid for years. I first started watching Grid when the Miami Freaks were still a team, which was quite a few years ago. I've done the American Grid trials. Like, you could find my handstand push-up 30 seconds on there somewhere. I've been following the sport for a while, so I know it like the back of my hand, and I know all these core players, these people that have been playing for a while. Like, I mean, Taylor's not playing anymore, but Taylor Stallings, like, I've been a huge fan of hers for such a long time, and watching Paula continue to do Grid. You have this core group of people that have been doing it, like, basically since its inception, which is incredible. But now it's starting to expand. And that is such a cool thing to watch. And watching these new teams, and even old team names that are now basically newly formed teams, continue to grow and shake things up is incredible. I think, I mean, Atlanta Wild, we were the Gainesville Wild. We just kind of created a new name in a new place. And that kind of started this spawn of teams coming up from the rest of the country, which is incredible. But now we have the Houston Bandits, and they're a team of almost all rookies. People that have never graced the Grid before, and they're learning real fast. Like, okay, what do I got to do to actually get that grit and win it? Because you can have all the amazing athletes in the world, but if you don't have that drive to get down that field, don't have that urgency, then sorry, buddy. Like, it's not going to happen. Which is why, I mean, right now, in terms of teams that I'm looking at, I got my eyes on the Breakers.
I mean, the Breakers. So the Breakers was the first team like I ever heard about
Yeah.
in Grid. It was players on the Breakers that got me watching Grid in the first place, and were the people I would message and ask questions
Yeah.
in the beginning, and then I got to know everyone, and then actually like last season with like Vilma and Sydney's and these ones,
Yeah.
you know, and Griffin, and that I got to know a lot on the wilds very well, and so I kind of that sort of became a bit of a go-to to ask questions. But I've always, you know, I always had this sort of soft spot for the Breakers,
Yeah.
which was so painful for me because, like, when I first heard of it, you know, I first kind of got to know this team, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that you just can't beat anyone apart from the Venoms. Like, I love you all. You're wonderful people. You're incredible athletes. You're all way better than me. But it stings a little bit that, like, I've come in, I'm like, let's follow this team, and then they're okay, well, they never win. I was like,
I think that's all. Like, this season is a turnaround for them, which has been incredible to watch. And it's like it's a whole new story. It's a whole new Breakers. And they've got some core people, like they've got Vita, like she's been a beast on the grid for as long as she's been there.
Even Vita feels like she's found another gear. She just seems more. She lost the hat. You know, she used to always wear a hat.
Well,
she doesn't wear a hat anymore. That makes her faster. I'm sure it's aerodynamics.
The brim of the hat was really holding their back, honestly. But it's like you've got people that have merged from the Venom that are friends with Vita, like great players from the Venom, and other people that have just been staying and improving and getting better. And I mean, I've chatted with a couple of them, like Billy. She's doing, I think, Magic City Games that I'm doing next month, and just been getting friendly with them. And they this is part of also what I want to create with my team, is that united front. Because you don't have to be the best athletes in the world.
In the burpee ringer.
Yeah.
Like, the unbeatable being beaten twice because they have to rerun the, like, that's, I remember seeing the Breakers come out like match one with their new shiny white uniforms. I mean, like, man, this team looks good now. Like, they've had a, you know, they've had a glow up, but that's cosmetic, right? And then you just watch them come out and absolutely
dominate
races, and you're like, okay. And then do it again, like week 2, do it again. I was like, this is a great team. Obviously, the Sharks are also like, you know, they were pretty strong last season. They only managed to get beaten by you guys at the end. But this season they took that personally.
To be fair, the Sharks are taking on teams that are lower set this year. So they took on the Wild, which they've got a few holes in their roster.
Yeah. Well, fine. You're not there.
I'm not there.
Just say it, Lexie. I'm not there. Yeah, there was some other people maybe as well that aren't there, but let's just say that you're not there, and suddenly the team's falling apart. So
I know,
maybe that's what it is.
And then they took on the Venom, which I mean, in previous seasons have not been at the top. They've got some great new additions, but I think there's still like something that's missing there. But I mean, the Sharks have not taken on the Lions. They haven't taken on the Breakers. So or even the Brigade. The Brigade's looking great this year too. They haven't taken on any, I would say, real competition.
Would you?
Quite yet.
Can I quote you on that?
Yeah.
Well, you're live, so I hope I can. Yeah, it's true. I mean, oh no, I should have said, yeah, it's true. Now I'm quoting myself. Obviously, like, the first 2 matches had kind of, it was the same. It was basically, you know, the first 4 matches we had our 4 winners, and then the second set of matches it was like winners versus the losers. So it was all the teams that had won going against these other teams. And I don't think it's really until, because we've got the Saturday and Sunday next month. I think it's not until the Sunday that we're really going to see some changes.
This next set of matches is going to be, it's going to shake things up a lot. I can tell.
Are you going to be at any of these matches in person, kind of,
I
doing
will
the...
probably not be there in person because of some other travel and work
Of course, you've
things.
already told us we've got weddings. We've got...
I've got weddings. I've got bachelorette weekends. I've got
Yeah, I like the idea that
I've
Sam
got
and Jen
wine
told you,
walks.
just get everything done this season. Just fill up your calendar this season, so next season you are completely free. And you can just be
Basically.
there at all the matches. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I didn't know if you were just going to be sort of, doing the drop-in appearances a bit like Jen's been doing, and just sort of turning up with your kind of
No,
wolf swag and just being like,
if I can make it to something like the championship, like I would love to. But
yeah, me too.
it all just depends on everything that's going on. And it's like, but I'm friends with loads of people in the Sharks. The Sharks are great. They're a united team. I know Blake from last year. I know Chelsea and Sammy and all of them. And they're all incredible players.
Yeah.
But again, as I said, they haven't really met their match quite yet.
I thought, wow, she's just quickly throwing this out there just in case they get mad at what she said earlier. But then you double down anyway.
They know they're great. They know they're great.
Yeah. Well, it is great having you mentioned Taylor. Having her on commentary is also just adding another.
It's so great.
And like her calling out Blake on his final, on his bit of showboating at the end of the sprint was like, that's what you need. That's what you need. That's a joy to watch.
I mean, that's not to say that the Atlanta Wild didn't do it last year either. Like Griffin had plenty of karate kicks at the end of a sprint relay.
Yeah. But the Wolves, no, they will be disciplined. They will be like a military unit. They will not.
Listen,
there will be no smiling.
Absolutely
not.
No, we're gonna have an amazing time. I mean, you've seen Jen's energy.
Yes.
Like you've now seen my energy. Like it's going, and this is something that I want to carry from what I learned from the Wild and a precedent that Dan had set in my very first season was family.
Right.
And that win or lose together, we're all together at the end of the day. And this whole united front is something that I want to create. So no, we're not going to be military disciplined. Obviously, we're going to have the blinders on when the race is going on, but we're all going to run to each other at the end of the race, like regardless of the outcome, unless it's an echo. Don't go running after each other after the echo. We got to set up for the next one. But I was dancing, wiggling my booty on the sidelines. Like I want the same thing to be happening. And I want to feel good about everyone being themselves and just enjoying this sport the way that I've enjoyed it as well.
Which is part, I mean, I think this season there's been more dancing already than ever. It just seems like incessant non-stop dancing at the moment.
And Jen's a DJ. She's not going to let people not dance.
Yeah. I hope you get some good intro music when you all run out now as well. That's been one of the things I've been pushing for.
I'm sure she's already watching
Grid
something.
Was like, we need better kind of, music for each team as they come out. We want to hear something to really get us excited. That's interesting though. I mean, that's that kind of the whole discussion around like the Wolves and this like wolf pack and they're a family and it's a team. And I mean, the coincidence that your name is also Wolf is just serendipitous, really. It's
honestly, my mom has had an email that starts with Wolfpack since as long as I can remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jen's been trying to buy that off her for as long as she can.
Probably.
Now she knows.
She's picking an oddly specific set of numbers after Wolfpack if she can't get it then.
Yeah. So here, look. Oh, you are correct. Okay, what else do we need to? We've talked about. I literally had wine walk written down on my notes as well. So we talked about ride. We've talked about grid. Let's talk about this cosplay thing for a second.
Okay,
you said I know about your energy. I want to talk about this. All I wanted to talk about from the moment I opened your profile. Actually, I will backtrack a little bit. Second is that the joy on being on the teams, and I mean the great thing about grid being this team sport compared to CrossFit teams that are generally, 4 athletes that maybe are at the, hopefully are at the same affiliate. Maybe they're not. Maybe they've come together for whatever. Like, and you're cheering them on predominantly because one of the 4 people on the team, and they're like your friend. You're like, oh, I'm picking that team because I like that person, and they just happen to be there with their 3 friends, and that's kind of it. Compared to Grid, where it is like, this is the team, and there's all these wonderful players. The difficulty there, though, is there's a lot of players. So I still find myself now, like, I'm going for Instagram and somebody pops up, and I'm like, oh, I'm not following this one. Like, I thought I was following everyone on the team. Oh, who's this? Add.
There's so many. I'm still finding people that like followed me from the announcement, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe like we haven't really talked to each other or anything before. Like, I know who you are, but
so it was annoying when I was like, oh, I wasn't following Lexie, and I opened your thing and I was like, oh, this is the kind of person I would have got on the show like instantly last season if I'd seen any of this. So but to be honest, Vilma arranged everything for me. She's the one coming up with all the people, so blame her.
No, Vilma's got her business on tight. I mean, that's why she runs like such an amazing affiliate. Like,
I was just like, oh, do you want to come out? Yeah, great. And she's, oh, should I bring some people? I was like, yeah, sure. Who do you want to bring? And just in the next few seconds, I was in not one but 2 group chats on Instagram, one with the guys, one with the girls. It was like, here's the people you need to talk to.
Oh, she also like, she created our itinerary when we were in Tampa last year. She was like, I know this restaurant and this place we can go to. And I was like, amazing. You got it. I don't need to think about anything. I love this.
Before we move away though, when you were approached and you were asked to coach, like, was that an instant? Did you know immediately that was like a yes, I want to do this? Was it a, oh, I don't know, can I do this? Like, what was your feeling at that point?
I would not have put my name into the hat if I didn't think I could do it.
Right.
Sam had put out on Instagram blast, like, hey, if you're interested in coaching or being an athlete or something, like, contact me, DM me. I surprisingly, like you talked about not following people on Instagram, I did not follow Sam's normal, just Sam account. I've always just talked to him via his Fight for the Fittest account. So I had to follow Sam's actual account. And then we talked a little bit. We set up our initial interview. Half of it was playing catch up and seeing what was going on. And then half of it was logistics of how are you going to run this team? And it did take a little bit of thinking of, how would I actually approach coaching? I think I can do it, but what are the ideas and things that are coming to my head right now based on what I've seen before and what I've experienced before? And after that first initial interview, I was like, I know what I want. I know what I can do, and I know what I can bring to the table. So when he offered that second interview with him and Jen, I was like, this is a no-brainer. And it was immediately after Jen sent me my offer that I said yes. It wasn't even a question. I've been, I mean, not on the grid, but I've been a coach in many aspects before. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a nutrition coach. I'm a CrossFit coach. I have been managers in other capacities, and I know how to take care of different personalities and deal with people. And with my knowledge of grid from being on the outside looking in and on the inside looking in, I can take all of that expertise and create it into an amazing cohesive team.
I don't know how you would get like someone just from the outside coming in, like without, because the coaching of grid is so different from any of that other guy. Like you talked about kind of managing people. Yes, there's that element of it.
Yes.
Probably more so than other stuff, because you're not coaching people to get their first muscle up. You're not coaching people to kind of learn to do. These athletes already can do these things. Maybe they're having to, you're saying, look, can you learn this new skill? But potentially it's not even a skill you can do, because if it's like a bodyweight specialist and it's a new thing that's just shown up and you're like, oh, maybe I can do that. I don't know. Can you do that? Yeah, great. Wonderful. But actually coaching on the grid during the match and all the kind of, you see players getting confused about where they were supposed to be. I was in grid 3 and I was in quadrant 3 and I was supposed to be doing this or doing that. And I thought I should have been there, but what was going on? And you as a coach, not only do you need to know what they should be doing in quadrant 3, but you need to know what the person that was going to be in number 2 should have done, who's going into number 4, what happens when they get like that? I just think if you're coming in as like, I'm an amazing coach, I'm great at managing people, I'm great at like getting the, motivating people to give their all, to get their best, to manage, these intense personalities, but I have zero grid experience. To me, that seems like a tough ask, like a really tough ask, compared to someone who's like, okay, this isn't my, my full-time job. Actually, I work with animals. Some of these athletes, they're quite animal-like, so I should be fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's this whole team. That's the whole concept of the New York Wolves right now, is that Jen is a grid enjoyer, but she's never played on grid. She's been a ref for grid, and so she's had that experience, and she knows how amazing this sport is, but she doesn't know the rule book, like Sam.
The ever-changing
rule book. Sam has this incredible pool of athletes to choose from, but doesn't know the substitution rules. So that's where I come in. Is I have these amazing two people to bounce ideas off of and to use with their great abilities, like Jen's ability to get together this business and to unite people and create this positive environment, and Sam's ability to get down and do what he's got to do, because Sam's a bit of a workhorse. I have these two people to bounce off of and lend my expertise, which is knowing the back and forth of the grid, and knowing where races are won and lost, and knowing what is going to be that bottleneck element that I need to put these important players into, and how do I teach them to transition as quickly as possible and make sure that they have this in their head on lock, and also be prepared for plan B and plan C, because God forbid something happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we don't want another Vegas. Never again. Okay, good. I feel like we've covered all the important things we were supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
So we won't get in trouble now. So, what's going on with these costumes? Are you making them yourselves?
So it's a little bit of both, is purchasing pieces and tailoring and making things myself. If you look at, I haven't posted on it in a very long time, but if you look at my TikTok, it is almost all anime content.
Right. I know where I'm going straight up.
I used to, back in 2020, create workouts based on anime characters.
Oh, really?
Now
I know why you got on so well with Dan.
So I did that. Then I started through that, transitioning a little bit into cosplay, just because I thought it was a fun thing to do. I'm like, I've got adult money. I've got free time. Why not just dress up a little bit? And it's fun. At first you get to this point where you're just like, oh God, what are people going to think about me? And then you realize, like, the people that are going to call you weird are the people that don't matter. So as a 32-year-old woman, I'm like, screw it. I'm dressing up in full wig and leather body armor to the Ren Fair, which also the Ren Fair, they don't judge you at all. No. Everyone else is also dressed up. So what better place to dress up there than...
Yeah, you've not just gone shopping. Like, that would be a bit where you're just sort of like going around the mall, like, oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I've made dresses. I know how to sew. My grandmother was a seamstress. I worked in the costume shop when I majored in musical theater in college. Yeah. Again, we're talking about all the hats that I have worn.
Maybe you will record the song that will be the entrance theme.
Oh God. I mean, listen, if they want a live national anthem, I'm here.
Yeah. You're a good singer. Are you do you sing then a lot still now?
I don't sing as much anymore. It's mostly my car and my cats that hear me singing. And occasionally the vet office if I'm bored.
If I think I'm alone, and I'm not.
Yeah. Well, not even if I think I'm alone. I'm gonna sing regardless. I don't care. But yeah, no, I still do sing. I would say, in the grand scheme of the things that we did in musical theater, singing, dancing, and acting, singing was probably my best thing to do. So
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I can't wait to see how you incorporate that into like boosting morale of the team. And okay. I mean, we saw Jess doing karaoke the other day, so that's
Why? Listen, I'm down. I love some karaoke for sure. And what
uh,
we did karaoke when we were in Vegas.
wow,
Me,
how could you not?
Velma, Amanda and Carrie and Tyler and Pat, like we all went out to a karaoke bar. And granted, me and Amanda were the only people that actually sang karaoke, but we all had a great time.
Did I see that Amanda was with you at one of the Ren fairs?
Yeah, she was with me at last year's Ren Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
She got some unicorn horns and some glitter and everything.
Do you
So
think you'll be able to kind of upgrade her, like in in future years? Be like, come
I
on.
think Amanda's probably more than willing to get something.
Yeah.
She's got so much muscle. I don't think I have anything in my closet to fit her properly.
Yeah, but I would have thought that you'd see that as like,
Oh, dude,
oh,
she would make
what?
some
Yeah.
badass warrior princess something. So,
Yeah.
Amanda, if you're watching,
Mhm.
let's dress up for next year. Let's get ready. I'll see her tomorrow, probably at the gym
Oh, will you?
anyway. So,
Yeah. Be like, man, I've got an idea.
I've got this idea.
Is it just the Ren fair you go to? Like, would you go to like a, like a Comic Con or an Anime Con or something like that?
I have shockingly never been to an anime convention as long as I've been into anime and things like that since I was like probably 10 years old. I've never actually been to a convention before. Mostly just because, you don't have time. It's on specific weekends. It's not like the Ren Fair goes for like 3 months, so you can just
Oh,
pop in
right.
any weekend. Whereas like the MomoCon that's down in Atlanta, it's only one weekend. So it's like, okay, am I off work? Can I make it there? So
Yeah. I've got animals to save.
yeah, no,
I really want to go.
strapped for cash and I got work to do. Hold on. Plus,
You said you had
it's usually like during Memorial Day weekend, and that's a
right.
big weekend at the brewery that I work at. So I was on for that specifically.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I've only been to like one. I mean, I actually went 2 years in a row, but it was it just happened to be, and it was in Italy when I lived there, and it just happened to be held in like and I lived in a pretty small. Well, I lived in a lot of different places, but at this time I was living in kind of a relatively small town, and just for whatever reason they hosted one.
Yeah.
And I remember we saw it and we were like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. It'd be like good to go to, but we were supposed to be doing something else. And I ended up breaking a tooth. And I was in such a bad mood that I was like, well, we're just going to go to the Anime Con then, aren't we? And so we went there, like not really dressed for it, prepared for it. We'd been out doing other stuff. But it was great. We ended up going back the next day. And then the following year we went at the weekend. But and that had quite, that was like loads of people going around in some great costumes there.
Oh yeah. No, that's another place where you could just walk around and whatever. And as long as you're feeling comfortable and confident, no one's going to look the other way. Yeah. Like
the only time I've got to really do like the costume is a couple of times for the open. We've done like teams
dress up days and things like that.
And we had and it was like, but we were, I think they like assigned us a team color. So it was like, oh, you got to dress up and you've got to be, so we were yellow. So it's like, you got to dress up, you got to be in yellow. And I remember just spending ages making a Wolverine like mask.
It's perfect.
Go as that. But yeah. So yes, I saw that. I was like, brilliant. Let's ask about that. I also think, with your athletic background and all the training you've done, that's great, right? Because it's another opportunity to kind of show off the hard work.
Oh yeah.
Like making a costume, someone would be like, oh, this costume took me hours and hours to make and sewing and this and that. And you're like, building this body.
Yeah. Took years.
A lot longer and very disciplined, a lot of hard work. So, that's why this costume works so well. So yeah. Exciting. Okay. I had some questions about you, whether or not you were still kind of competing or doing stuff. But obviously you sort of mentioned the injury that has kind of, I guess, been the thing that has slowed you a bit. But did you say you had a competition coming up?
Yeah, so I'll be doing Magic City Games in Birmingham on July 19th and 20th. Qualified for that. Oh my God. When did we qualify? A couple months ago. I was unofficially on the leaderboard, like the first one in the intermediate division. And then someone must have messed up in putting their score. So I got bumped up to the last invite in the RX division. So now I'm competing. I mean, so lucky to be competing against Amanda, who won that particular competition last year. I'm going in. I mean, again, like this year has been for me training wise like a no pressure year. I'm doing things because I think it's fun. I'm doing things because I'm having a good time and not because, oh God, I need to stress out that my burpee box jumps are not fast enough. Like I'm doing things for me, which honestly has made me a much better athlete.
Yeah.
And the fact that I got into a higher division for Magic City Games without even particularly training for a qualifier is incredible. And God, there's going to be, honestly, grid's going to help a lot with this because there's a lot of things for speed. The strength event that they've set up is a sandbag ladder. So yeah, getting a little bit of that.
So if you were feeling bad that you missed it this year, you're like, no, what a shame they brought out the
Oh, what a
sandbag ladder the
shame.
year I wasn't doing grid. And you're like, oh, I get to do it anyway.
Well, except that the women in this year had to do 150 sandbag. Luckily, it was to increments up. The sandbag I'm hoping to make it to is the 150 sandbag and put it on my shoulder.
Yeah.
So been playing around with that, playing around with swimming and just doing fun things and things that I've never really focused on before just because I want to and not because I feel like I'm going to let someone down if I don't.
Yeah. And then you're right. It make that, you know, I think actually probably for you, that's also great to have that experience of no pressure for a year before then going into obviously pressure,
different kind of pressure,
and like, guys, you've got to, but knowing that, I guess it's kind of, yeah, how hard do you ride someone on, like, you need to get the, when you're thinking, well, hold on, I know for myself, actually, when I took the pressure off a little bit, I performed better. So maybe this is an athlete that I need to approach in a different way because they're making, you know, the more I'm screaming at them, the more mistakes they're making, and perhaps that's not how they respond. So that's cool. Going in bottom on a like qualifier has also got to be a nice feeling because you're like, the only way is up.
I was like,
literally,
I'm
I
just,
can finish second to bottom and I've advanced. Like,
and I've already won. Yeah. There's going to be an event that's good for me. Like they're doing a different version of like JT, the workout with handstand push-ups, ring dips, and push-ups. They're doing deficit handstand push-ups. Yes. Ring dips and bench press. Yes. So I know like that's going to be a good workout for me. While I might not do well at the swim run, like there's going to be something and I'm going to have fun. I got a couple of friends competing, like Tour from the Palms is competing.
This guy is,
listen, we love Tour. He's everywhere.
He never met a competition he didn't try and compete in.
No,
he's just like,
he trains with us on so me, Amanda, and a lot of the Blacklisted HQ crew, we train together on Saturdays. He trains with us too. So
well, there you go.
We all know each other.
Yeah. And he's easy to spot. How tall are you? If I
5'2".
5'2". Oh, so you would not have liked that sandbag ladder very much then.
No. I saw I was talking to Bailey Yarborough from the Palms. She had come to train with us this past week. And I was talking to her trying to get some advice on the sandbag. She's like, I had to put that friggin' sandbag on my face to get it over the last bar. And I was like, well, I don't have to do that, but
in fact, I think they'll say it's a no rep if it lands on my face. But
if it lands on my face and then lands on my shoulder and I take my hand off, that works.
That'll be fine. Yeah, it's an interesting route to take to get it to your shoulder. Maybe not the most efficient. I think, you know, Griffin would have something to say about that. That's not the most efficient way to get that there. It's funny because in the lead up to that, I was very much on the, you can't train to be tall. This favors tall. Like, there is no way this doesn't favor tall people. Like, yes, people will be able to do it even when they're shorter. I am absolutely one of the shorter people.
I was going to say, you look at Vita and you look at Sydney, and they cleared the ladder, and they're both the same height as me.
Yeah, so they can. Like, no doubt that you can do it. Yeah, watch Artur do it.
Oh,
he's just like dropping.
Artur's just got it like at his belly button, and it's over the last
and
one.
So it's like, yes, like you can do it, absolutely, but the speed at which he was able to do it when he's not a strength specialist, really, you know, that's not his his remit, and yet made it look effortless.
Yes.
So there you go, Arthur. Well done. Yes.
You did
So great.
good.
Yeah, good guy.
He's
Wonderful.
gonna comment on this.
Yeah. Well, he's everywhere. Not only is it at every competition, he is on every podcast. He's always, you never know. He just pops up out of nowhere. He's very stealthy for a guy who's so tall. You should definitely be able to see him coming.
Oh yeah.
And yet somehow he manages to sneak in. Who knew?
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Any final things we need to know going for, like, I guess in your new role? I know that you can't sign people yet. There's no, there's all the rules in place. You can't poach players from other teams. There's lots of stuff you got to kind of be on your best behavior at this point. But how busy are you already for, like, getting ready for next season? Or is this...
Yeah, Sam and I have already got the wheels turning. This weekend I was coming up with things for the combine that we're going to do, because we're not just going to do like a traditional tryout or like a trial. We're going to try to have a full online qualifying combine situation. So he's already set that up. He's looking to me to create testers that are going to find us the caliber of athletes that we need for our roster, and to create a nice full roster out of rookies. Because we're just going to assume that no one from other teams or no one that's played grid before is going to come to us. We're going to assume that none of that's going to happen, and we need to start with a clean slate. So I've been busy trying to figure out what tests are going to ultimately optimize that potential for us of finding the best rookies. And so, I mean, Sam and I are having a call on Tuesday night to talk about that and get it all together. So the ball is already rolling. We're already getting ready just so we can be fully prepared by the time we officially sign people and have letters of intent to get practices together and get everyone organized, because we want to run this as professionally as possible. Every other team is going to tell you, yes, we're professional. We're doing a professional sport, blah, blah, blah. We want to be the professional team. We want to create this up to what the pro grid used to be. Like, we want to lift it up to that space. And it's a lot. It's a lot to do, but we got time and we got the energy for it. So we're ready.
I mean, I was going to say, it sounds like you potentially will have the busiest off season of any team, because if you are constructing a team of, that we're going to say is 99.9% rookies potentially, there's a lot that they need to learn. There's a lot that you need to teach. There's a lot that they probably think they know that they need to unlearn, so that you can then teach them that actually that's not the right way and there's a better way. It's going to be, I mean, I guess for you as a new coach, there's kind of a duality there as well, I suppose. On the one hand, it would be nice to be like, oh, it'd be good if I had some people that kind of, knew what they were doing already, and that would be useful and they could help lead the others. But at the same time, as a new coach, maybe there's a, it's nice to be able to be like, right, guys, you don't know any better. Yeah. This is the way we're going to do it. And
I honestly
and there's
think
not going to be people fighting back on that. Oh, well, when I was on this team, we actually did it this way. And you're like, well,
it's good to have that input, but yeah, I think having that blank slate is also going to be a great idea. Obviously, we're going to go into that first match wanting to win 100%, but also knowing that this is our first learning opportunity. We could practice all we want, but how does it feel? How does it look when we actually get out on that grid? So what can we learn from our very first match together to take, change, dominate for the rest of the season? And I think that that'll be great, especially for the rookies to be like, okay, our first match is going to feel a little bit like a dress rehearsal. And then it's all about
you
polishing,
would know all about, with your background in musical theater.
So, and hey, they always say bad dress rehearsal, amazing performance.
There you go.
So I'm expecting difficulty.
Yeah.
And you have to go in there knowing that you're expecting difficulty, and changing mindsets. But
And it can work. I mean, I think I was speaking with John and Matt from the Bandits,
mhm,
and obviously they went up against this newly formed Lions team in their first match, which
mhm,
for a rookie team to go against a kind of team of double vets is tough, right?
mhm.
But I think initially maybe they were meant to go up against the Venoms. Maybe was something had changed, or there'd been. And I was saying how I felt like probably going against the Lions first is great because that's a learning experience. Like you're
Mhm.
gonna. There were times they were ahead and then they messed something up, and the Lions took advantage and they got their point.
Yep.
And it's like maybe against the Venoms you might have snuck out a win on that race as
Yeah.
opposed to them catching up. In which case you don't learn the lesson. But
Mhm.
when you lose, you learn the lesson, right? Oh no, this
Yeah.
is what we did wrong. And I think when you look at the Bandits from match 1 to match 2, they'd learned a lot of lessons.
They did.
From just doing one match. And even hearing them interviewed, obviously, they've, as all people, as all the athletes we've said, they've all got a bit of ego. They all want to be the, but actually when you listen to them speaking, they're very often saying, hey, we're the rookies. We're learning. We're new. This is all, we're having fun. We're learning. We're getting ready. I don't think they've come in this season thinking we're the best. We've come in to win. It is,
Mhm.
there is that understanding that, okay, we need to learn. I feel like you guys are coming in maybe with a hybrid approach again of like,
Yeah.
you get one match to learn
Yeah.
your lessons,
And
and then
honestly,
we go out and dominate.
that's a similar thing to what Dan taught me in my first year. Was we like my very first match ever was up against the Venom. We didn't expect anything. We knew we were going to fumble because a lot of us, again, that was our rookie season too. So I have to understand and give the grace to my team as well. Is that first match is going to be a learning session, like win or lose. Even if we, like the first time I was on the Gainesville Wild, only win by 1 point. Even if we only win by 1 point, like we got a lot of learning on those other things to do. So how can we continue to improve? And like, I mean, grid is about tweaking the tiniest things to make it that much faster, especially now that a lot of people know the formats. They've done the formats. Like they know how fast pistol stick jump overs are going to take. But how can I create a little ingenuity, and how can I make my transitions faster to make this movement quicker?
Yeah.
So that's all about practice. And yeah, throw us into the fire in the first match. We're going to come out like a phoenix for the next one.
And imagine if you win the first one.
I know. Imagine if we win the first one. Sam's going to say that we are, but
yeah, I know. Yes. Sam has that New York confidence.
Oh yeah.
I told him after the show last time, I said, man, I love that you're from New York. I love the New York swag you've got. You just feel, he said, a lot of people are not going to like it. I said, I don't care. I'm over here in England. It's fine.
Yeah. I think the bluntness is appreciated.
Yeah.
And I did live in New York. I lived in Brooklyn for like 8 years. So I've got like the best of both worlds. I've got the little now Georgia, Atlanta, Southern charm, but also the New York blunt and potty mouth. Like I've got both.
Yeah, just got like a little switch you can just flip and be like, yeah. It's like, oh, she's so sweet. She's so chill. And then just New York on.
Well, yeah, there's performer Lexie and then there's game time Lexie. So there will be two different people.
It always just comes back to musical theater, doesn't it, Lexie? That's
100%. I mean, listen, the grid's a stage, and some people perform better under the pressure, and some people don't. And we need the people that perform well under pressure. Because I know for me in competition, I always do better when I'm out on the floor and there's an audience and there's people watching me, and I know I have a job to execute. There are some people that crumble, and it happens that talk themselves down, and that's not necessarily what we want. We want a group of good, hard workers and amazing athletes, but we want a group of people that have an amazing growth mindset and are willing to talk themselves out of that pit and strap on their big boy pants and get into the next race, you know?
I mean, That sounds like the perfect place to end it, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah.
So Lexie, I know you have a massive drive ahead of you.
I do.
To head back. So I really appreciate the time you've made for me on this,
Yeah.
lovely Sunday. I feel like, having spoken now with Jen, with Sam, with you, the Wolves feel like they're in, great hands.
Yeah.
Only time will tell with kind of, I'm looking forward to seeing who, I'm hoping that kind of my knowledge of CrossFit and athletes and competitions will mean that I will recognize some of the names that get signed onto the team in the future, even if they've never been on the grid before. So that's exciting. I'm hoping, I'll get to meet some of them, chat with them on here, congratulate them all on their incredible victory in that match that we didn't expect them to win, but they, pulled off a stunning upset. So that would be great. But it just feels like, this just feels new. This approach to building a team, being so, you guys have been so open with with where everyone is, what everyone's doing, what people's roles are, what the plan is going ahead, and we haven't even finished the 2025 season.
Yeah. We
And
don't
now
even
I'm
have a
excited for
team.
the 2026 season. I'm like, okay, and we've still got half a season left.
Yeah.
We've got to get through this.
Yeah.
But brilliant. Stay in touch. Don't disappear on me now, because
Of course.
you and Sam and Jen, I'm expecting to get a lot of more information about this Wolves team as it develops.
Yeah.
All the best at your competition that you've got coming up.
Absolutely.
Interesting that you said you perform better on the floor with the lights and the pressure. So considering you managed to just accidentally qualify in that bottom spot on an online qualifier, which is not on the floor with the
I'm
lights
not
and the
great at the
pressure.
online qualifier at all. I will admit I did have to redo a couple of those workouts.
Yeah. So I'm expecting the only way is up for you at that competition. So you're going to do better there as well. That is wonderful. So thank you so much. Thank you for mostly your team backing you here in the comments, which was very nice. And eventually Arthur, when he catches up on this show and realizes we spoke about him, I can't wait for the DM. So that's nice. As I said at the outset, I'm back here on Wednesday with Alyssa and Paul, and then I'm off to Luxembourg for the weekend for the Iron Showdown. So, but I'll have shows coming out before and after that. And then I also have Lauren from the Bandits coming on in a couple of weeks as well. So I'm trying to, as always, make my way around all the teams. So make sure you're following this show and you're subscribed and doing all those things, or go to my Instagram if you want to see stuff going on in Luxembourg. So that'll be fun as well. So thank you again to Lexie. Thank you to all the the Wolf Pack and everything that they're doing, and hopefully we'll see you all before the 2026 season. That would be nice.
Thank you.
We'll end it there.